as I said on my radio show last night, we made a decision to make a change at offensive coordinator and step Coach Finley along with Kevin Johns into new roles, working together. Coach Johns to coach our quarterbacks, and Coach Finley and the rest of the staff, Kevin included, putting together game plans, and we'll call it on game days. Incredibly hard decision on many levels, and then a 10,000-foot lens. Not so difficult. We're not playing winning football on that side of the ball, and thought a change would be appropriate, and change in leadership, a new voice, a new perspective, a new lens, strategy, game planning, sequencing, all of those things that go along with that position. As I said last night, this is not everything, all the blood doesn't fall at the hands of Coach Littrell. There's lots of different issues that have been problems for the lack of consistency, lack of offensive output, and but ultimately that goes along with that position. So with that, I'll open it up.
Okay, let's start in the middle. Aaron.
Brent, with the offensive coordinator situation, you're going to have to, of course, the future of the offensive coordinator, when you think about what you're going to do, maybe hiring a new offensive coordinator, how do you balance the remainder of this season with what you're trying to accomplish this year, with weighing what you're going to do with the future of that hiring of that job?
Yeah, there's a lot that you obviously can't do right now, so focus on getting better right now. We need to get better. And, there's you can always plan ahead without getting distracted. So, my main focus right now is getting us prepared for this week and putting together a good game plan, in all three phases, and giving our players a chance to be successful.
Do you focus on the future at all? Because
you multitask, absolutely. It's a huge priority, and we'll let things take its course.
Ryan?
Yeah, Brent, I want to ask you about Kevin Johns. And what specifically do you feel like he'll add to that quarterback room, that group, that responsibility that maybe hasn't been there or is different from the first 7 weeks?
Well, again, being a quarterback coach and an offensive coordinator, he's got both of those lenses so from fundamentals, game prep, knowing what the quarterback should see, what he shouldn't see. He's got high-level success in regards to where he's been at both coordinating and coaching the quarterbacks. So whether that was at Duke or it's at Memphis, it's at Indiana, and some of the other places, that he's been. And so, he hit the ground running yesterday. And he was like a pig in the mud. And I think that a fresh perspective will, be an opportunity for the quarterbacks to grow and see it from, again, not only a different voice, but a different lens, someone that's been outside of maybe the system that we have currently been running, and again, a fresh approach.
Is he going to be in the booth with Joe Jon?
We haven't figured that out yet. We'll figure it out this weekend. Yeah, but he's been able to be down on the sideline for the majority of the season with those guys, and so we're talking through that, as we speak.
Brent, you've said a couple different times, different perspective, fresh perspective, different lens. Since Joe Jon was involved with game planning before, can you talk us through the thought process to keep him, elevate him, as opposed to maybe doing something totally different?
Yeah, no, it was reported again last night, everything that I said, but as I said last night, Kevin came in here later in the winter in an analyst role when analysts aren't allowed to coach. So he's doing advanced scouting, not in the weeds of day-to-day operations and installations and things of that nature. He assisted me with scout team work, and from a leadership standpoint, I could pile a lot on him, but he did a great job in that role. Not until fall camp were analysts allowed to actually have a coaching role, but at that point in time, we had already been down the road several months, so he continued in the same role. So, he, in regards to the actual game planning piece of it, it's certainly not fair for him to all of a sudden you got to learn a new verbiage and language and how we intimately operate, with this current team, with these players. And so it's all very player focused when it comes to that, and what's fair for them and what he's capable of doing in 4 days. And but they'll all work together. And again, when you have a play caller, ultimately everything goes through him. He makes those decisions on what we either are and aren't going to do. And but there'll be a real strong collaboration. Whatever we have been doing hadn't been working. So with a fresh start for everybody, we're hopeful we'll get a little bit better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, when you got here, you had gone through a pretty long stretch of tremendous offense.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is down. You've got the defense turned around, but the offense has gone down. Is there anything going on with, why is it so hard to get them both going at the same time? Is it allocation of resources, whether it's financial, whether it's scholarships, whether it's practice time? What goes on to make it so difficult to get them both going in the same direction?
Well, I think year one we were top 10 in the country in a whole bunch of offensive categories. Is that right?
Well, last year definitely.
Well, I think first year we were top 10 in the country, and then last year we were. So was that, how long have I been here? 2.5 years? And I don't want to sound defensive, but I just don't want to change what the facts were. We've been an abomination on offense this year. But year one and year two I think we're pretty good, and one of the best in the country. So I got perspective on what did happen, and there's a lot of things you can go down the list, but I think you can have both. And I think a year ago we were pretty good on defense and really good on offense, and year one not very good on defense and still pretty good on offense. So all with whatever shortcomings we have here. Actually, we were not a very efficient offense our first year, although the final stats would say we were pretty good. But we made tremendous improvement in year two in all the efficiency spaces on both sides of the ball, and that's more of a model of what we're a vision for what we're wanting to be on both sides of the ball, where we can truly complement each other and have a chance on any given week to win the game on that side of the ball. And obviously we have fallen short, in that regard, this year. But I don't think it's an allocation of resources. There's again, we know what some of the issues have been, and we've got to be better around the young quarterbacks, and we haven't been. And some of that, again, there's been some injuries, and I think that's a real thing that doesn't allow you to be fully who you are, and we haven't been very good and consistent on the offensive line either.
George?
Yeah, Brent, quarterback situation is always an interesting one in college football. You see guys every year, starters, leave programs and go somewhere else for maybe a fresh starter. Backups go somewhere that they can be a starter. How have you maybe handled the quarterback situation with these two guys, Jackson and Michael? I'm sure both want to be starters here this year and, in the future. And how have those guys maybe handled a situation where, Jeff is a guy that recruited them both in Oklahoma. He's gone. Now Seth is somebody that coached him, and he's gone. How have they maybe handled this whole, delicate situation?
Yeah, I think they both have been focused on just controlling what they can control and being in the moment here right now, and recognizing the need to be in the moment so that they can be prepared and have a chance to play and be the guy. So, whether or not they have spent any extended amount of time thinking about, the future and things of that nature, I don't know. For me, how have I handled it? I'd just be open and honest and transparent, lots of communication. This is a game of development. This is a game of performance. And, in some ways, those positions and how you coach them and, what the expectations are shouldn't be any different than what you look at any other position. And, but, I think having great self-awareness probably puts them in a good place. Even though there's some discouragement with that when you're not playing as well as or as well as you want to. But young players sometimes play like young guys, and they get better the more they play, the more they're around it, the more they watch it, the more they practice it. And that would be the expectation, with those guys, moving forward. But as far as speculating on their futures and things like that, and just focus on, trying to get better today.
I know you also said that last night that Jackson's going to be a starter. What went into that decision was just based off Saturday's performance. Then could we see Michael at all in
Yeah, you never know if you can see somebody. I can't predict. You go out there and again, it's 21-0 because you throw, turn the ball over 3 straight possessions again. You'll look at everything. So, what went into it? Jackson stepped in and played pretty well. Took care of the football, put one on the ground, recovered it. Made a lot of really good decisions in the game. Took command right from the get-go. Had again several drops that would have made the day even better for him, individually. So that's what went into it. Mm-hmm.
Ryan Chapman.
Brent, you mentioned the offensive line. In 1 week, I don't think anyone's expecting a huge teardown, like schematically, but what tweaks, what's realistic improvement you can have from that group week over week? Because it's another really talented defensive front this weekend.
Yeah, and again, I think that's, it's been that, again, whether it's Tennessee or it's Texas or Auburn or South Carolina, there's that too. You're trying to baptize guys, getting them better, but just being better at the fundamentals, becoming more aggressive and physical. Another week of practice and the cohesion and continuity gives guys a chance to improve. You don't reinvent the wheel in a week's period of time. You just get better at the basics. We got to get a lot better, and that's where the focus is just making improvement, and again, putting guys in a position to help them have some success too.
You're going to face another really good defensive line at Ole Miss. They put a lot of resources over there. Talk about that, Matt. You just talked a little bit about the offensive line, but now you're going to have to match up against this front four.
Yes, well, it's the whole defense, James, and just like, again, we've played some really, really good defenses, and I'm not sure if there's been a season where a team has faced this many at Oklahoma, this many good units. That's not an excuse, just what that group of players are dealing with right now, and I think they're number 2 scoring offense or scoring defense in the country, giving up 10 points a game, and so playing really, really well. So very similar to the approach that we've had the last several weeks. Not a whole lot different. You go in, you do what you do. You got to do it better. You got to take care of the football. You got to create explosive plays. You got to push the ball down the field. We got to do a lot better job at protecting the quarterback, not allowing as many negative plays, and try to get into a rhythm offensively. And but this would be a great challenge for the guys. They're a tough group to do it, and not many people have had success doing that.
Is that the best front you've seen?
This week?
Yeah.
They're all good, man. I chuckle only because, if you want me to be real and honest, I just compare this player to that player to this player, and
I was just real impressed with Nolan. So.
yeah, Nolan Smith is playing. He's the number 1 player in the country coming out of high school. Goes to A&M, does fantastic there, and he's picked up. I think he's in his 3rd year, and he's playing like a 3rd year former number 1 player in the country. He's developed. He works hard. He strains. Incredibly disruptive. He can rush the passer. He can play the run. He can cross face against anybody he plays. He can play a 5 technique. He can play an inside a shade or a 3 technique. There's nothing that he can't do. God willing, he'll be a top 5 pick really soon. But there's also another, 10 guys that line up out there with him. They're all really good players. Again, I think they've got 18 of their 22 starters or transfers. They've done a really nice job of not only, I think it's easy to say you just go find good players and put them together and then you have a super team. It's easier said than done. And so obviously Lane and their staff, they've done a nice job of getting these guys to buy into the culture, and there's a certain level of selflessness that goes along with that. And again, keeping guys hungry and on edge and playing, the ultimate team sport the way the game needs to be played, as opposed to selfishly trying to go make plays. I'm going to do what I want to do and things of that nature. They've played really disciplined football. And but again, it's the guy, it's Trey Amos, the corner they got from Bama. He's, somebody along with, Paul, the linebacker that was from Arkansas that, is all SEC, great player, Princely from Florida. You can go, on and on and on. I think Trey Harris leads the SEC, leads the country in receiving yards. I think he has 350 more yards than the second best receiver in the SEC. A fantastic player, and that's not talking about Juice Wells and their tight ends or their backs and things of that nature. So Jackson Dart's the only player in the country, active player, that's rushed for over 1,200 yards in his career and passed for 10,000 plus yards, and he's playing lights out. So they've got a really good team, and don't see any weak links in the chain anywhere. But that's exciting.
Yeah, Brent, just a quick one about Gavin Sawchuk. He's never been listed on the availability report, but his snaps have obviously diminished the last couple of weeks. Is it performance-based, or is there something else going on with him?
On the availability report?
Yeah. Gavin's never been listed on it, but you look at Saturday and he was never in. Is there something? Is it performance-based, or is there something else?
He strained going into the game, he was healthy. He strained a quad.
And then back-to-back weeks where Troy Everett's been named one of the team captains. What did you see with his leadership when he was going through that injury, and how's it been amplified since he's come back?
Yeah, he's just a natural leader. Certainly can't lead when he's not at practice and in the middle of the grind. It's just you feel like a man without a country when you're that player. And but he's a guy that's an emotional leader. He's an alpha. He brings out the best in guys around him as far as leading. Brings out juice and energy and the toughness that you got to go and practice with. So it's good to have him back.
Brent, obviously Joe Jon's had a big impact on the offense all year, but with him now calling plays, maybe what's the balance for him in terms of keeping things simple and having continuity for the players, not reinventing the wheel, plus maybe having his own impact and looking to maybe change things and bring his own perspective?
Yeah, and he's been around a lot of ball. He's got great leadership skills, a really effective communicator. He's very involved in every part of our program when it comes to special teams and offense, and certainly his tight end group. But the balance is, again, putting together the best game plan you can. Certainly you're always considerate of your own position and their involvement and what they can do and can't do. He was a trusted resource before, and again, I know the result isn't what anybody wanted, so it's easy to say, well, that what's he going to do? But he's got great perspective, and he's got a really sharp lens when he understands defense, and he's got good natural instincts as well. With the game, I think that'll show itself to some degree. And again, we got a really good supporting staff. We got a really good staff. And again, a year ago, that staff was really good. And right now we're in the middle of a year where we're not performing well. So everybody is under the microscope. But, we do have a good support system and a process in how we put together, again, daily practice and daily game plan, installation, and the different situationals and things of that nature. And so he'll play a major part in that, but so will other staff members, as well. Be a collective effort. Mm-hmm.
Brent, with 29 sacks allowed through 7 games, I know they're not all on the offensive line, but you said last night a lot of them have been. Just from your perspective, what makes it so difficult to try to rebuild an offensive line through the transfer portal these days?
I don't know. You don't have I think probably the number one thing, in a perfect world, you have high school guys that you develop, on that side of the ball. That group, the best performing groups typically are ones that have spent a lot of time together. And, if you went back and looked at all the guys that, we've had over the last several years there, we've had a lot of turnover. We've had several guys that chose to declare for the draft early. I think my first year here, I think we lost all the starters. I think I was hired in December. I think we had 4 guys that could have come back. They all left, and so we had to start over that year in 22, and we had some backups that were here, but and so every year I think we've lost both starting tackles after 22 and after 23, both starting tackles left, and so we haven't had a lot of guys that have been here for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and that you're going to see that. It's hard for a high school kid to come in and be an impact guy at that position at any school, and but ideally you have that position built up of the foundation of high school guys that have been in the program and developed over the course of time. But we've missed on some guys. Several years ago we didn't have this amazing group of backups that were ready when guys left, and that's, you want to build that if you're building it appropriately, and so everything matters when you're building that, and guys that can be a great teammate, be a good player, but also be go to class, make good decisions off the field, socially, and then be willing to put in the work to develop, and that's been a group that we've fallen short. In regards to the transfer guys, that they've only been here for a few months, and so when you got to rely on the majority of those guys, you can lack some continuity in the chemistry, the things that we're talking about that enable you to be able to execute at a high, consistent level. But at the end of the day, we do have some guys that have been here. We got to help them play better. They got to play better. We got to play tougher. We got to be more physical. We got to be better in pass pro. Our fundamentals. We're not winning a lot of matchups. We're losing a lot of matchups. There's not a margin for error with the guys that we're playing. But we got to help them do things that they can do. And so everything affects them. Run game, running back play, quarterback play, receiver play, all that stuff affects them too. And so again, right now we're not very good at any spot, let alone offensive line.
Brent, I think you talked about it a little bit after the game, but seeing what Jacob Jordan did on Saturday, how much do you hope that kind of performance, encourages other guys who maybe haven't been playing as much to kind of value their opportunity here in the home stretch? Yeah, again, I spoke about this last night. I think it's a great example. We talked about it in the team meeting, a guy that just has been working, showing up every day, getting his reps, not getting the opportunity in game, but not letting that affect him, his practice habits, his attitude, his mindset, his effort. It's because of all those things that allowed him, when called upon, that he was ready. And so that was the message to guys is to stay ready, keep working, keep developing, keep believing in yourself, trust the process, all of those things. He's a
living, breathing example of what that looks like. And taking all the things that you do in practice and taking it to the game day. And sometimes how a guy practices, sometimes they get in the game and they're not mindful of all those things, the fundamentals, the details, whether it's in route running or it's in protection or it's in, effort. Some guys have paralysis by analysis when they get out there on game day, and that's, you don't want that for any player at any position. It's not going to help you win.